This story took place in Ohio in 1981, which terrified many people. The evening was pierced with thick darkness as the couple, Jake and Alice, moved into their new home. They were eagerly anticipating the beginning of a new chapter in their lives, believing that their dreams of happiness and comfort would come true within these walls. But as often happens, their expectations were shattered when Alice began engaging in various occult practices. From the very beginning, Alice was a believer in mysticism and divination. She often conducted strange rituals in their new home, studying ancient customs and secrets. Jake initially dismissed it with skepticism, but gradually began to worry when his wife became too engrossed in what he considered madness. On one dark evening, when darkness enveloped their home, something changed. Alice was performing one of her rituals, and suddenly some sinister spirit possessed her. It seemed like a shadow had engulfed her soul, and every night she turned into a source of nightmare for Jake. The wife began to behave strangely, grabbing knives and running around the apartment as if a storm was raging inside her. Her voice became harsh and unpleasant as she screamed loudly and talked as if her mouth was pierced by some ominous presence. But the most terrifying thing was that she attacked Jake, scratching and biting him like a monster from his worst nightmares. The husband was horrified and didn't know how to help his beloved. He turned to hospitals, but doctors were powerless against such an anomalous situation. He even tried to seek help from psychiatrists, but their words were as useless as their treatment. True desperation seized Jake, and he decided to turn to religious rites in search of salvation. He visited many churches, trying to find someone who could help them. Finally, he found a priest who agreed to try to exorcise the demon that possessed his wife. The priest, upon seeing Alice, felt that her soul was permeated with darkness, but he was ready to take on the challenge and attempt to expel the evil that had taken hold of her. The ritual was carefully prepared. Jake and the priest knew they were facing a difficult struggle with powerful evil. The fateful night arrived when Alice fell asleep, and they began their ritual. In the darkness of the hall, the priest, surrounded by candles, recited ancient prayers, as if creating a barrier to protect himself from the evil that enveloped the young girl, Alice. Her body convulsed as the demon possessing her tried to break free. The walls shook, the light flickered, and sinister shadows rose from all sides, as if calling for a hellish battle. The priest, raising his hands to the ceiling, spoke sacred words with mighty force, striving to drive out the evil. But the demon wasn't about to give up so easily. It forced wild screams out of Alice, which pierced through bones and brains, instilling terror in the hearts of those present. Waves of dark energy surged towards the priest, like a menacing wave ready to engulf him. But his faith was strong as steel, and he continued his battle with the abyss. At that moment, Jake, Alice's husband, clenched his fists, standing at the edge of the room, his eyes gleaming, watching what was happening. His heart bled with pain, seeing his beloved fighting for her soul. The darkness thickened, sinister shadows condensed like clots of blood, ready to engulf all life around. But suddenly the priest, sprinkling holy water, took the cross and raised it up, emitting light that even darkness had to yield to. A demonic scream pierced through the dark veil, but in the next moment, Alice, breaking free from the clutches of devilish influence, groaned and collapsed to the floor. Her body trembled as if squeezed in the agonies of final resistance. The priest approached her and laid his hand on her forehead, uttering the final prayers of purification. At that moment, the darkness dispersed, and the flickering of candles became calm, as if after a storm. Jake ran to Alice, embracing her with love and feeling their world filling up with hope for a brighter future again. But at the same time, they knew that traces of evil could still lurk in the corners of their souls. ready to return at the most unexpected moment.